up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. It's your boy, Kenton Hipsher here, the CEO and founder of the nonprofit. And once again, our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youth by exposing them to professional careers via Black and Brown professionals. And so this week, we have a wonderful, beautiful, elegant, blue, young Black professional herself, Miss Ariana.
Hi, Kenton. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate you for coming on the platform. So please tell everybody what's your profession and what's your industry.
Absolutely. So I work in Biotech Sales. I'm a senior territory business manager, and I've been in the pharma and biotech business for about 8 years.
Awesome. Great. So you're the person on the front lines out there putting on big smiles, out here like, please buy my product.
Yes. Yeah. And then of course, there's a lot of work on the backside, but yeah, definitely the first person most people see when they want to buy a product from my company.
Wonderful. Well, who better than you? I mean, you're amazing. Me and you have talked before this, but I'm happy to share how awesome you are and your story on our platform. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Can you please tell the people what your ethnicity is and then also where you are from?
Absolutely. So I'm Black and Black. I am African-American. My folks are, obviously originating in West Africa, but, as many of us, I'm Black American. I was born in Gary, Indiana, raised in Chicago, and I currently live in Denver. So that's a little bit of my ethnicity and background.
Awesome. Great. As an Indiana native myself, I applaud you. You made it out. You're now out and about. You're successful. You're living the good life, but I mean, you're going back right now that you got all this together. You're headed back there, correct?
I am. Yes, we are headed back. I'm so excited to get home back to the Midwest. It's been a long journey, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, being out in Colorado, all the mountains, being on mountain time, sort of the West Coast vibe. Right, it's a lot different than being in the Midwest. I mean, I went from the Midwest to Atlanta, which was one culture shock to another, and then Atlanta to now San Francisco, which is another culture shock. So I do miss the Midwest sometimes, but man, do I love the elevation. Seeing water is just something that I'm not used to.
True, very true, very true. That is, yeah. The West, I won't say quite West Coast, but the West, because I'm out here in like the Rocky Mountains, has been a great change. But again, happy to get back.
I feel that. And there's lots of opportunities for biotech in the Midwest too. I feel like biotech and biomedical are two areas that are really starting to blossom in the Midwest. Typically it's been the West Coast, San Francisco sort of hub, and then the East Coast, Boston, Cambridge area.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But with Eli Lilly being in the Midwest, I feel like a lot of companies are really, circling around that area and starting to blossom out because it's cheaper to live there.
It is. Yep, it definitely is. And then I just, I think Midwestern folks are just, for the most part, like nice, right? Like we just have kind of like, it's a great place to raise families. It's affordable. So yeah, I'm ready.
Gotcha. But them winters though, whew.
Now that's real.
Yeah. But hey, you're in Colorado, so it's not much better there when it comes to the winter time.
It's not. No, it's very true. It's not. It's cold here too, so I'm used to it.
So share with everybody, what a typical day in the life is for you as a, biotech territory manager.
Absolutely. So it looks different for every company and every product, right? I think that you've got to figure out what type of product you're selling. But the typical thing that you see in biotech, and probably the main difference between that of pharma and medical devices, the sales cycle on it is not this acute sale, right? So it's not sure, hey doc, I'm gonna go in like it's Love and Other Drugs, right? And say, write my product, and they write on a pad, and then your patient goes to a pharmacy. It's just not how biotech works. It's really this large kind of pull through process, and it's a lot more in depth. You're really more like a quarterback, and you're working cross functionally with all these different teammates within your region to get patients on therapy. So it's a much more complex process.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know being in sales myself in the biotech space, the traditional pharmaceuticals or door-to-door salespeople, their sales cycle or the time it takes for them to go to initiation to close of a sale is typically a lot shorter than it is for us because of the nature of the product in which we're selling.
Exactly. Boom. Yep. That's it in a nutshell. So frankly, my days just almost, one day is not the same as the next, right? Like it really just depends on the patient, insurance, how everyone is working on our team, access to the patient, just that whole pull through process literally looks different every day with every patient, depending on which drug is in my bag. So it's a complex process.
Gotcha. So, with having some of those challenges, what would you say are a couple of things that get you excited about your career? Because, it's not an easy job doing sales in any area. So what makes you excited about it?
Absolutely. Number one is commitment to the patient. So you have to have a heart, I think, if you want to do this job well, to really want to help people, right? Because at the end of the day, we're here to help patients. And our therapies are life-saving and life-changing. So it's about them, number one. So I think that's what gets me out of bed. That's what motivates me, knowing that when I do my job well, then there's a patient that gets on therapy. And then I would say probably the second thing is really believing in your mission and your product and your company, right? I've been really, really lucky to work with such a great team that I know that if I don't do my part, I'm affecting not just myself and not just the patient, but I'm affecting my team. So being a team player, I think that's key. And then lastly, I'm doing this also so that I can, as many of us Black and brown folks, I'm doing this so that I can provide for my family. So it's important that I do my job well, because I have family that depends on me to do that. So I would say those are the three things that get me out of bed in the morning.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know for me, talking about, trying to provide for your family and the financial aspects of sales, it's all very different depending on which role you're in. But just to explain to everybody out there, sales can really work in, I would say, one of three ways. The first way would be traditional sales, which is just commission. So you make money, a percentage of whatever you sell, basically. And then the second way would be you have a base or a salary, and you have commission on top of that, which is more of the most common form of, I would say, sales compensation now. And then there's also the third form, which is just having a base or just a salary, which isn't as common, but it just depends on what area and what field you work in, with longer company. Exactly. And what company. When you have longer sales cycles, your commission obviously won't be able to pay necessarily as much as your base will. So they try to provide you with a higher base. So just to break that down for people maybe looking into career in sales or something of that sort.
Absolutely. Yep. Great.
So since we've mentioned, some of the things that excite you and, really get you, happy and bring joy to you about your career, because when you think about it, a third of your life is spent working. So if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're missing a whole third of your life. So it's really important that, we acknowledge those things and take joy in what we do for a profession. And that's what we're here to do, is help you guys out there find, what makes you happy. And so with that, in the same side, or I should say on the other side of the coin, are the challenges of the role that you will have to face. And so what would be a couple challenges that you face in your career, or you face up until this point?
Absolutely. So, I mean, number one, and that's in any field, but especially in sales, be prepared for rejection. Someone's
Mm,
always going to say no. That is just the nature of the job, right? Um, and so, being a salesperson requires you to persevere. You can't, you know, your whole day just can't be ruined when a client or a doc says, "Hey, no, I'm not gonna use your product." So you gotta just say, "Hey, oh, okay, great," and then go back to the drawing board, because no really means later. But it really just means, okay, honestly, it means that whatever you're presenting, it's not compelling enough to get that physician to write your product. So you've got to go back and figure it out. And that doesn't mean on the very next try that you're going to get this doc to write your product. It does not mean that. It means that the current plan that you have needs to be reworked. So what does that look like? So being ready for that and being ready to come up with a new plan. I would say the other challenge that I've experienced, and this is just in corporate spaces, it's just being prepared as a Black and brown professional to know your worth,
talk
not be
about it.
afraid. Yeah, not be afraid to ask tough questions, not be afraid to have tough conversations. I think in order for us to continue to move forward and build paths to leadership, we have to be afraid to not be afraid. We have to be fearless, excuse me. So of course tactful, of course strategic, but be prepared to hit some roadblocks, but don't be afraid to knock them down.
Amen. Preach. It's real. It's a real thing.
It is.
I mean,
it is very real. But we had to let them know, the younger professionals coming behind us, that many people prior to them, and then of course they stand on the shoulders and on the backs of so many that have worked so hard to create a path for them. And so just continue, do not be afraid, and be good trouble in the names of or in the name of the late John Lewis.
yes, definitely. Rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've talked about a couple times on this platform, is really knowing your value and being aware of the situation around you in terms of your color in the workplace and how that may affect your job and how you operate on a day-to-day basis. Now, that shouldn't mean that you should, change your hair, change the way you dress or anything like that, because that's your culture. You need to retain that. But then at the same time, you do need to be aware that some people are going to look at you differently, and they're going to approach you differently, or they may think less of you, or they may want to target you in specific situations. And I feel like as a Black or brown person, you really have to be on it 120% of the time, not just 100% of the time. You need to go above and beyond to really show that you bring value. And that, that may not be the case everywhere. There are some places where you may not have to necessarily worry about that, but in the majority of situations, after talking to, many of professionals and being in the professional world myself, that's something that you're going to have to deal with every day. So just be prepared.
Yeah, you definitely will. And that's why we are fighting the good fight, because we want for the people coming behind us to not have to do that. We want you to be able to be yourself, because when you are yourself, you are your best self, and you are going to bring you're going to bring your best hardworking self. You're going to bring your most creative concepts. You're going to help move that business forward. And in order to do that, that's why you have to be comfortable with yourself. And then in situations where maybe someone is not comfortable with you or not comfortable with your skin, you stand firm. You stand firm, and you have the tough discussions. Because sometimes what I've been realizing over my, almost 10 years is that sometimes people don't even realize their own bias. And it may take us or a situation to be fearless, to feel empowered, to say, hey, let's have a discussion, because this has to change. Commit yourself to the change. Commit yourself to diversity and inclusion of Black and brown people. And we lead that charge.
We do indeed. And I think it's about action. It's more than just statements. You see Absolutely. A lot of people making statements nowadays, but statements don't change our situation. Taking products off shelves don't change our situation. What changes our situation is action.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly why this organization formed. That's exactly why you see people out in the streets. It's because they need to see action and they need to feel that. And so until we get that, you're going to have to keep fighting this. And even once we get it, you're going to have to keep fighting it. So you might as well just embrace it, live in your truth, and just be confident in who you are.
Yep, that's it. Exactly. Live in your truth. That's it. That's it. That is the next wave. Respectability politics are over. We have to live in our truth. And it's time. We've earned that right.
We have, for sure. I definitely think so. And I'm here to support that. And I'm happy that, strong Black women and women of color like yourself are stepping up to say these things and to be examples for those coming after you and those in the situation with us right now. And I really appreciate you and want to give you kudos for the things that you are doing yourself.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate that.
Well, hey, if nobody's going to say it, at least you heard it from me.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But I know they will. But, with that, I digress. Let's talk about how you got started into the sales role, because I'm sure as a little girl, you probably weren't thinking, oh, I want to go into sales. That's what I'm going to do. I'm sure you were thinking a ton of other things. So how did you get into the role that you are in now? What's been your educational track?
Absolutely. So it's so funny that you say that, because absolutely no, I was not thinking when I grew up, I'm going to be in biotech sales. No, I was not thinking that. So I actually went to college to study musical theater. So I had a full different track. I had grown up in the arts, had been doing the arts since I was a little bitty girl. And when I went to Indiana University, I decided that I would major in theater and honors English. So when I graduated college, I luckily was cast in a show right out of school. So right when I left, or right when I graduated, I went and I performed in Little Shop of Horrors, and then I went on to do 2 other off-Broadway shows.
Cool.
And I had a great time, right? Mm. And this is where the sales part kind of came in. I was broke. Not kind of broke. Oh, not kind of broke, not play broke. I was broke. And my parents were helping out that first year. And I'm an only child. So my mom was like, hey, I've got you for about another month, girlfriend. But after that month is up, you've got to figure things out. And I was in a panic, because New York rent, because I had moved to New York City, and
child.
New York rent is no joke, right? Because it's New York. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? Well, growing up, my mom and my aunt and uncles, they all were in pharmaceutical sales. So I really did have kind of this background. I'm not saying that I knew that that's what I wanted to do, because I was going to be Beyonce, so no. But or Audra McDonald, I wasn't thinking about sales.
The Beyonce of Broadway.
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, no. But, as that rent got closer, my mom's pocket was closing. I was like, oh goodness, I got to figure things out. So I said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to start interviewing for pharma jobs, because it's what I knew. It's what I grew up with. It was kind of always this, maybe I'll try that if music or theater doesn't work out. And it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because I have absolutely loved it. I was lucky enough I finished college in 3 years, And so I kind of had an extra year a year to figure out my life, so to speak. So when I started out in pharma, I had just turned 22. So it was great. Like, it was almost like I didn't miss a step, so to speak. And I was hired then, and my first area I had was like upstate New York, and then I had that for like a few months, and then I got transferred back to like the city, and I had like Harlem, Washington Heights, the Bronx, Upper East Side, and Upper West Side. Like, I kind of had this very tough territory. Mm-hmm. And folks were like, ooh, I don't know if the rookie's gonna make it, and I ended up making it and doing really well. Took me about a year and a half, but ended up doing really well. Ended my second full year, number 3 in the country. Wow. So it was a great feeling to kind of get there, knowing that this wasn't my traditional path. But then once I had that year, this was like, okay, this is it. And I've been doing it, like I said, for 8 years, since 2012. So that's kind of my story, like how I arrived at sales.
That's so cool. That's so cool. First off, we're not just going to gloss over that you finished college in 3 years. Okay, that is a feat in itself. So we're going to clap for that. We're going to clap for that. Congratulations to you. And also having a successful career. You know, it may not have been financially successful, but at least from a production standpoint, you were in some very famous, notable productions. So that's amazing.
It was, you know what, I mean, from that standpoint, definitely, I always can look back and say, you know what, like, I feel good about what I did, especially considering it was just a year that I was doing that full time. But I feel really good about what I did. And to be able to transition, it's interesting that people always think going into, especially pharma, biotech, or medical device, they always think, oh, you need to have a chemistry and biology degree or biology degree. You have to have a BS. You have to. And I frankly just think that is false, because clearly I did not. And I really think having a background in honors English and in theater, it prepared me in such a way that I had such a depth of knowledge of other things, not just of science. I had a depth of knowledge, so that when I went into an office, it wasn't just, oh, the rep, we're going to talk about science. Of course, we're going to talk about product. We're going to talk about science, but I was able to have like actual relationship discussions, life discussions with some of these docs that other reps didn't even think to talk about. And a lot of these docs, you'd be shocked, a lot of them have some type of love the arts, whether it be they were musicians in college, or they were an artist. Like, a lot of, actually, math and science works very well with the arts. It works hand in hand. So it was really an easy fit to go over from theater to sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because, you know, everybody needs a stress relief. And typically the arts is some type of stress relief for most people. And, you know, doctors are no different. Sometimes people think of doctors as like these robots. They go into the hospital, they fix you up, and then they leave, and they have no life outside of that. We do the same thing with teachers. We do the same things with lawyers. But at the end of the day, you have to realize these are people, right? They have things that they like outside of what they focus on to make money. There's a hustle and there's a life. Sometimes they are one and sometimes they're not. So you have to keep that in mind. And like you said, I mean, having your background, you know, it's like you could just go into character and just like, I'm sales now. Like, this is what I'm doing. And then you can switch off and be like, all right, now I'm back at home. I'm relaxed. This is me. And it's not that you're creating a facade. It's just that when you go into a sales conversation, you really do need to do things like that. You need to be on. You need to be prepared. And that's what you were able to bring. And that's ultimately why, you know, like number 3 in the country, that's how you got there, is because you were able to build relationships. And that's why I tell people all the time when they ask me, like, how did you go from doing technical science to going to sales? Like, what was your transition? And the transition is easy. The common denominator is I love people. I love building relationships. And if you can do that, you can sell anybody, because they don't really care what you're selling as much as they care about you and who you are.
Yeah, being yourself is a huge part of the job, and connecting, that ability to connect with your customer, that's definitely a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree 1,000%. And one of the things that I also wanted to mention was that you had a backup plan. you had a dream and you pursued that dream with everything you had in an era that was not like today. I mean, today, as a young person, if I was growing up right now, like in, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, seeing things like Hamilton out there, I would think like, oh, Broadway's got Black people? What? This is the normal. Okay, everybody's got Black people in Broadway. But no, it was not like that. I grew up watching Phantom of the Opera, no Black people. None of them.
Absolutely. And that's a whole nother discussion, right? We can get into about, but absolutely. And I love seeing that growth of Broadway, of seeing the opportunities now and the shows that are showcasing not just Black voices, but Black writers are behind the shows. We are telling our own stories. That's huge. So yes, at that time, that was not always the case, and that was not happening very often. So.
Exactly. And that's one of the things is like today as a youth, I feel like we're in such a great time for them to grow up because they're seeing themselves in more areas, but it's still not as representative as it could be. And so that's why I'm striving to make it more representative and to show them that there's careers out here for you by people who look like you, sound like you, walk like you. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. But with that, I will move forward. So you talked about how you got into sales and some of the challenges that you faced. What are some of the things that make you excited about it? But what would you say is one misconception someone may have about you or your career in particular?
I think probably the biggest misconception is that people assume it's kind of like the movies, like, oh, you're a pharma rep and wow, you get to like, it's like, I think there was a YouTube video some years ago where it was like a parody on pharma, and there was like a rep and he was in his car, he had like his notepad and he waved at the doctor and he's like, that's a call. Like, and that came out a long time ago. But anyways, I think a lot of people have that conception that, oh, well, pharma's like, you wave at a doctor and that's a call, and you're not really selling. And that is just false. Let me tell you. I mean, I've sold in pretty much almost every major market in the country just because of different roles I've had at different companies. I've worked New York City, I've worked Houston, I've worked Dallas, I've worked LA. I mean, I've worked some of the, some of the largest markets in the entire country, different docs, and still selling is required to do my job each and every time. So I would say that's probably the biggest misconception. It's just, that our jobs are just, we wave at folks and it's a call. That just doesn't happen. But it's funny to watch it on a parody.
That is funny. I mean, for those of you who don't know, and I'm not trying to scare anybody out of sales, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. They've shown through thousands of people, surveying thousands of salespeople, that the average sale usually takes at least 7 points of contact. At least 7 to get the average sale. Now think about that. When you're selling something that's like $100, you're making $20 off of that sale, maybe. Them margins ain't the best if you have to contact them 7 times. That's a lot of work you got to do, right? So it's not as easy as people may think it is, but it's also very, very exciting, if it fits your personality, and rewarding because you've earned really what you've worked for. Whereas in a typical salary job, you could work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. You're still getting that $70K at the end of the year. Right. It don't matter. It don't matter what you do. So, right. You're really earning what you deserve. And I think that's the key part.
Absolutely.
But with that, we're already at the end. I mean, it's been very simple. I know it goes by quickly. This is
really bad. I'm like, ask me more. No.
I mean, I'd be happy to, of course. But I'll leave it here. I'll keep it short for everybody. Is there any advice that you want to give a young woman or a young man that's looking to go into sales or looking to pursue sort of the career track that you have?
Absolutely. So, work hard, right? That's what everyone says, but honestly, work hard, get your grades, graduate school, and the opportunities are endless. In terms of sales, though, what I would say from a tactical standpoint is during the summers, try to find an internship, a sales or marketing internship. A lot of these big manufacturers have them. Apply. I don't care even if the description, you're like, oh, I don't know if I really match up, apply. And then go on LinkedIn and find the person who's running the program and message them and try to set up time to speak with them. That is how you network. You start building your inroads when you're, 19, 20, 21. So by the time you finish, you've built a relationship at different multiple companies so that when you do apply for a role, they're like, oh, we know this person, they've worked with us, or they worked at another company that we know. And it'll set you up for success. I think that's one of the biggest things that helps recent college grads get a job, because it's difficult. One of the things I'm sure, Kenton, you know, and I know I experienced even when I was looking for my job after doing theater was, okay, yes, you have a degree, but you don't have any experience. Well, how can I have experience if you don't give me the opportunity, if you don't give me the job? It's like, it's the worst response. It's so frustrating, right? Because you're just like, I can't get it if you don't give it to me.
Exactly.
So with that being said, try to set yourself up for success by building up your resume as much as possible during those summers. Don't just kick it with your friends. Every summer can't be a hot girl summer, although we want it to be. Sometimes, sometimes that summer is, hey, I've got to go work at such and such a company and I'm clocking in, but you are going to learn. And then you're going to make yourself an excellent candidate when they're looking for an entry level hire. So that's what I would say. Other than that, stay true to yourself, know your worth, and you got this. Do not go in scared, leave all that fear right at the door. You have this opportunity for a reason. Take it by the horns. You got this.
I can't say it any better than that, y'all. I mean, it's just nuggets of gold right now, just right here. Just nuggets of gold. If I would have had this same conversation at the age of 18, boy, I would be killing it right now. There would be nobody stopping me. I would be out here in these markets heavy. I would have been on LinkedIn. I would have been just killing it. I would have had networks out of this world. But that's why we do this, so that you can have this conversation. Anybody who wants to, at the click of a button, you can have this conversation and you can hear it from people that look like you, people that sound like you, people that are here to motivate and uplift you. So with that, please take this knowledge to heart. And once again, utilize it. Get out there, apply, try it. Even if you don't have the experience required, try anyways, because you never know who's on the other side, and you may get that call saying, hey, we want to do an in-person interview. You never know. You might as well try. And one thing I'll point out too is some of these internships are paid. You may be working somewhere for some money. So, if you're trying to get a little something, trying to buy a car or something like that, you're trying to go do a little something, take a little trip, this is a way to get money. They pay you to do this. So even if it's a free internship, you're gaining experience, and that's really the most valuable thing you could have. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to dilute it down anymore. I mean, that was just gold right there at the end. So do you have any closing thoughts or last minute shout outs you want to give? Any projects you're working on, any people you want to give credit to, your husband, the kids, your mom, your pops, anybody?
Yes. Oh, that's excellent. Okay. So shout out to my husband, who is my biggest supporter for sure. Like he's great. And he has his own really intense career. So for us to juggle both careers, 3 babies, kudos to him.
That's a lot.
It is. And then definitely I have to give a shout out to my mom, who is like amazing. I mean, she's been in this business. She's been in the healthcare from a medical device business for about 25 years. And she's a lawyer also, but she's definitely not only been my mom, but my mentor. She's helped to guide me through this. And with her being a former executive, having her own consulting firm called Evidence Matters, I mean, she's a boss. She's a boss. So I have to give her credit. And then lastly, my aunt, Sororita Johnson Mills. I mean, she's just, once again, she's another girl boss. She's my mom's mentor, so she's a boss. So she's amazing. And again, she's also helped to guide me and help me to grow as a professional in this business. So
wonderful. Look at that. Strong women out here killing the game.
They are. They're dope. They're awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the platform. I really appreciate it. I know everybody out there really appreciates you sharing your story and being vulnerable about all the things that have happened to you along the way. And at this point in time, I'm going to look to the camera as I always do and tell y'all, I shouldn't even have to tell y'all at this point. You done seen it so many times by now, but make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another episode of the Black Professionals Project, because we're doing it all for you. I do it for you. Really, there is no we. It's just me. I'm out here solo dolo doing it for y'all, because I remember when I was in high school and nobody was helping me trying to decide what I wanted to do in my life. So I'm going to help you. You decide what you want to do in your life. And if you have any questions, there's careers you want to know about, drop them in the comments. Comment down below. Let us know. Also, in the description, I've included tons of resources. There's personality tests, so you can figure out what kind of personality you are. There is career placement tests, so you can figure out, what kind of career do I actually like? There's internship opportunities. There's research opportunities. So just look down there in the description, man. It's all for you. I do it for free. Come on now, it's free information. Your boy out here doing it for free. So with that, I'm gonna just leave it there. I'm gonna let y'all do y'all work because I done did mine. So thank you again, Mr. Ariana. We really appreciate you. We love you, especially as an Indiana kinfolk. I'm happy to have the opportunity to do this. And with that, it's been another great episode of the Black Professionals Project. We will see y'all every Monday as we always do. So make sure you tune in to check us out.